A single crack of gunfire slices through the silence. Another follows. Jagged ridges shimmer under a blazing sky. Smoke curls from a burning truck. Shouts ricochet across the valley. Majiyahan, a remote outpost in Somalia's highlands. On this day, it was no longer a village, it was a battlefield. Gunfire split the morning air. Fighters pressed against boulders, rifles flashing in bursts of light. Convoy of pickups froze mid-road, doors flung wide. Foreign workers scattered, helmets tumbling into the dust. Smoke poured from the burning trucks. Every shot carried more than sound. It carried fear, betrayal, defiance. To most of the world, this was nothing more than a skirmish, barely a headline, quickly forgotten. But here, in Majiyahan, it became something else. A memory that lingers in dust and smoke. A warning of what wealth beneath the soil can ignite. I'm Abdul Quddus Dunyali. Tonight, we return to Majiyahan, to the battles once fought here, to the promises broken, and to the dangerous re-emergence of history in Somalia's northeast. Vital coast, remote highlands, and deep-rooted communities. But across Highland, Western Bari, and the broader Warsangali region, the state's presence is scarcely felt. This isn't merely a story of geography, it is the result of decades of neglect and political marginalization. Since Puntland's formation in 1998, Sanaag's contested status has limited both government reach and international development. Aid agencies often avoided the area, citing insecurity and disputed claims, leaving basic services underprovided. The data tells the story in sharp numbers. While rural Puntland averaged 52.5% access to electricity, Sanaag lagged behind at just 39%, among the lowest in Puntland. Nugal, by comparison, stood at nearly 69%. Safe water access shows the same inequality. In 2022, nearly 74% of households in Nugal had safe drinking water. In Sanaag, just 31%. And sanitation is worse still. Only 20% of households here had access to basic facilities, far below rates in Mudug or Bari. Education offers little relief. Puntland's budget claims to allocate 8% to schools, but most spending flows towards urban centers like Galkayo, Garowe, and Bosaso. And Sanaag classrooms are overcrowded or absent altogether. Fiscal mismanagement only deepens the neglect. A 2021 review showed Puntland's budget execution riddled with weak oversight and diversion of funds. Ministries that should drive development are hallowed, while disproportionate sums flow to favored sectors. Puntland state media, for example, was allocated more than 54,000 per month, while environment and agriculture ministries received less than half that figure. The result is visible everywhere. In the Warsangali heartlands, boreholes are scarce. Clinics are understocked. Power supply, when present, is unreliable. This entrenched neglect not only deepens poverty, it fuels resentment, creating fertile ground for opportunism and conflict. And yet beneath these same mountains and plains lies untapped wealth. In the mid-2000s, an Australian company, Range Resources, launched surveys in Majiyahan. Their announcement sent shockwaves through investor circles, with shares climbing on the promise of uranium, gold, and other rare earth deposits. But for the Warsangali, this was not opportunity. It was deja vu. Communities remembered being excluded, saw foreign companies rush in, Puntland elites in Garowe negotiating contracts, while locals were sidelined. Tensions flared, protests mounted, and Range Resources eventually pulled out. But the distrust remained. The message from Majiyahan was clear. When resource deals happen without inclusion, they breed division, not development. Now, more than a decade after Majiyahan, a new wave of discovery has turned speculation into spectacle. Reports circulating through Somali forums, diaspora networks, and regional commentary suggest that Euromark Group, allegedly with Gulf backing, has completed sweeping mineral surveys across Sanaag. The claimed figures are staggering: 567 metric tons of gold, 6.47 million tons of tin, 12 million tons of lithium, 28 million tons of copper, 2,100 tons of platinum, 12,000 tons of titanium, 28,000 tons of tantalite, and confirmed traces of uranium. Altogether, the valuation has been pitched at over US 907 billion, a sum that dwarfs Somalia's entire GDP 75 times over. For energy strategists, lithium and copper leap out, key elements for the global green transition, batteries, and electric vehicles. For Puntland's treasury, it suggests unimaginable revenue, but for the locals, the deja vu is haunting. Once again, minerals are whispered in Garo offices, diaspora chats, and Emirati boardrooms, while locals see no contracts, no consultation, and no stake. Rumors even swirl that President Saeed Abdullahi Deni has personally pocketed 20 million signing bonus from Emirati intermediaries to grease exploration rights without disclosure to parliament or local communities. Whether fact or rumor, the perception itself deepens the fracture. It is discovery framed as spectacle, numbers too large to ignore, yet secrecy too deep to trust. This is not geology, it is political dynamite. Sensing the rising storm, President Deni has made outreach moves. In Bosaso, in Paran Lahar, and through state press releases, he has convened elders promising inclusive development and resource partnerships. But for the Warsangali community, the ledger of broken promises is long. The Al Dahir Arigaba Road, pledged for years, remains incomplete. Operation Al-Madu, initially framed as an anti-ISIS mission, is now widely suspected of doubling as a mineral corridor control campaign. And most recently, the Qad flight scandal. Deni's administration cut down the number of days Qad can land at Paran Airport, historically controlled by Warsangali merchants. The days were reassigned to Qardo traders, reportedly Deni's relatives ensuring kickbacks for the 2026 presidential campaign war chest. Thus, even as Euromark's mineral figures are whispered, everyday commerce in Sanaag feels manipulated by Garo politics. When gold maps circle overhead, even Qad flights become loaded with political suspicion. As these negotiations unfolded, another actor looms large, the United Arab Emirates. Through DP World, the UAE already controls Bosaso port. It funds Puntland security units and invests trade infrastructure. Now with Euromark surveys echoing through Sanaag, Emirati officials are said to be circling the mineral belt. For many locals, the fear is simple, a repeat of range resources, only this time with the weight of a foreign state. Contracts signed in Garowe, resources shipped abroad, while local lands are left scarred and underdeveloped. The danger is not hypothetical. Across Africa, from Sudan's gold mines to Niger's uranium fields, communities are excluded from resource governance, have seen wealth become a curse rather than a blessing.
The poverty of those living around the source of Nigeria's wealth is bare to see.
Good morning, gentlemen, Your Excellencies. My name's Mike Povey. I'm the Chairman of Range Resources. And firstly, I'd like to say I'm grateful for the fact that we've got everybody here today, representatives from both the TFG and, of course, the Puntland government. I'm sure everyone here realises that when we first started the exercise of coming into Puntland, most people that we would speak to outside of the country wouldn't know where that was. And initially, when I came here in April 2005, was just a few maps which showed just an indication of some of the work that had been done only by Conoco. They didn't show there was oil here, they showed that's the small amount of information, there was certainly the potential for oil. There was absolutely zero information with regard to proper geological information with regard to minerals in the country as well. Over this last 9 months in particular, we've managed to change the image significantly with regard to what it would be like to visit here. We put a small team into the northern half of the country. You'll see later when we've spent a great deal of money on satellite imagery,